So we're here with Joe Aiello, the Republican candidate for Sangamon County Treasurer. We appreciate you being here today, Joe, and invite you to start by providing an opening statement as to why you think you're the best candidate for this position.
Thank you for the opportunity to present my credentials. I've spent 22 years at Sangamon County as the clerk, and over that 22-year period, we've developed ways to serve the customer that we think are very creative, very efficient, and are very prudent. And I think the services that I provided through the clerk's office, conducting some of the largest elections in the county, and working closely with the treasurer's office will allow me to transition in that office quite simply. Also, the fact that I was the township clerk and the township assessor for 22 years, well, it gives me a better understanding of the township side of the business, along with the fact that under my tenure as the county clerk, we went through the consolidation of the election offices, and we all know that there is a referendum on the ballot concerning the consolidation or transfer of duties from the township to the county. So I think with my history of service, my history of delivering services, and my prudent approach to things, I think I'm a good fit for the treasurer's office. I think I'll bring fresh ideas to the office. Tom and his staff have done a wonderful job, but I think I'll bring a new perspective to the office. I have a cross section of background in business, public sector. The public sector is at the county and the state, and I think I can bring some new ideas to the office.
Good. So before we dive into all of the issues, I just always like to have a better understanding of kind of how people got to where they are. So how is it that you became a Republican?
Well, I think the truth of the matter is the same way I became a Cubs fan. I inherited that from my mother. My father was a Cardinal fan.
So I guess the question is, why have you stayed?
Yeah, why have I stayed that way? Yeah, I went off to college, and in college we visualize different things. We participate in different ventures, and we go to school and we try to learn, and we kind of try to come out a different person. And when I came out, my mother reminded me that I still need to vote Republican. And, I paid attention to the issues, and over the years, I've looked at the services that are provided in this county, and I participated in those services. I spent 10 years in the private sector, and I watched how things were run, and I just think that the Republican approach here in Sangamon County has been effective. I think when you look at the product, the brand at Sangamon County, we did a good job. I hope to go back and continue with that. So honestly, I inherited it from my mother, and I've continued with that tradition.
Thanks.
You mentioned in your opening statement, you talked about the referendum on the November ballot about potential consolidation with the county absorbing the capital township. Talk us through the issues you see there and why you feel that's a good course.
The township right now is partially consolidated with the county. Capital Township is a very unique township. I think it's one of the only townships in the state that doesn't have a road commissioner. As you know, we have the city of Springfield that takes care of the roads in the city, highway commissioners in the county, and then we have the state taking care of other roads. So it's one of the more efficient townships in the state. It's set up differently than most townships. And as the county clerk, I was the clerk and the assessor. The treasurer is the supervisor and the collector. So it's already partially consolidated. It makes sense to keep it there. The county has a community resources department that works on a variety of issues here in the community, and they work with a lot of partners here in the community. I think that it makes sense from a perspective of, one, it's already being done. It's a smooth transition. And I know when some of this discussion came about, there were some people that were concerned about it going to the city. The city has enough on their plate, according to some aldermen. It doesn't make sense for them to take on more at this point. The county's already doing a part of it. In fact, I'm involved with Helping Hands Homeless Shelter. There were some people there, clients, that were concerned with what might happen with the township. So I think the smoothest transition, the most economical transition, and back to that conversation we had earlier about the county and the way they run business. They have a brand. They're very efficient. You don't see the county coming to the table asking for more taxes. They work within their means. So I think Sangamon County has proven that they're a responsible entity that can take on these duties.
You know, the referendum is advisory, not binding. Should the referendum have been binding so that the follow through is there? Is essentially, you know, if it's advisory, doesn't have to happen. If it was binding, it would have to happen.
We've seen various referendums on the ballot. I think one of the first binding referendums was consolidation of the election offices. That was binding, and my office absorbed the city election commission. Then I think we've seen some non-binding referendums that I don't know if it was the 911, I don't know if it was public health, but I think one of those might have been a non-binding referendum. I think the fact of the matter is that if the voters tell the Sangamon County Board do something about this, the Sangamon County Board is responsible enough to take the initiative to get it done. And when our first interview back in March, we talked about this issue, and my suggestion then was put it on the ballot. Let the people decide. It's the people's money. It's the people's services. We're just there as elected officials to shepherd those services. We're passing through. We're working with the taxpayers, the clients, and if the voters tell us and tell me consolidate it, we're going to consolidate it. I think the county board is committed to that. I think the township board is committed to that. If it's binding, I'm okay with that too. But I'm not sure the option was available for the county board to put a binding referendum on the ballot. And I'd have to research that.
There's another referendum on the ballot this fall for the 1% sales tax increase for the school district. I know that's not necessarily a county function, but is that something you support?
I think that any voter who looks at a tax increase, whether it's property tax or sales tax, the first thing they should ask, is that governmental body doing a good job now? Should we give them any more money? Or should they clean up their own backyard, work more efficiently, be more prudent before they ask for that additional tax money? And I think that's a question for each and every school district. This affects a large variety of school districts. It's one question across the board for every township, every school district, but I think every voter in each respective school district needs to ask those questions. Are they responsible enough right now? Are they accountable enough right now? And that's the thing when I went into the election office. We cleaned up our own backyard. We took our own inventory. And as a result of that, in 22 years, we reduced our staff from about 35 people down to about 18 people. So I think it's a question that has to be answered by each and every school district's voters. If it's going to help the school districts, so I've heard some school districts say they're going to provide property tax relief. That would be an incentive for me to vote for it. I support it if they're fiscally prudent right now and they're doing the right things right now. And it's a tough question because there's so many different districts involved with this thing. Some people may not have faith in one district, and they may vote it down in that district. So it almost seems a little unfair to a district who's doing a good job and may promise that we provide property tax relief, but another district's not doing a good job and the voters aren't happy with them. So I guess the direct answer to the question is I support it if the governmental body is responsible enough to handle what they have now. Do we want to give a district more money if they're not responsible enough now to do the right thing with the money?
So if you're elected to this office, what will be your top priority and how would you champion it?
The top priority will be to look at the tax cycle, look at the system that supports the tax cycle. The tax cycle there's a lot of moving parts on the tax cycle. You've got the assessors in every township. You've got the collectors in every township. You got the county clerk, you got the county treasurer. The county clerk works with the tax extension and tax rates. You've got the supervisor of assessments who's a part of it. You've got the information systems department. There is a tax cycle committee. So I plan on diving right into the tax cycle committee. I plan on looking at the current system. I think they're phasing out the current system, which may be nearly 30 years old. There's a lot of parts to that system, and all those people I mentioned have a piece of the system. So I think it's important that we take a look at the system, we move to the next generation, but also make the tax bill more accessible. Make the tax bill less complicated. You know, I brought a sample of a tax bill. There's a lot of things on that tax bill, and there's a lot of fine print on the back of the tax bill. We're going to look at that. We're going to make it easier for people to pay their taxes. If you're at home and it's 11 o'clock at night and you want to pay your taxes, we're going to allow you to pay your taxes from home. We're going to allow you to try to figure out a way to let you do that 365 days a year. Now, there's some complications with that because at a certain point in the tax cycle, there is a tax sale and things get put on hold. But there is a tax committee that I plan to dive deep into and work with. It involves all those entities. It's important that the tax cycle stays the course, because if something gets behind and tax bills go out late, then the extensions to all the different tax bodies go out late. And if something happens with the extension and taxing bodies get their money, then they have to figure out a way to bridge the gap. And it may mean loans. It may be dipping into reserves. So there's a lot of things that are affected by the tax cycle being on track. And the other thing, too, I think when I show up, I'm going to spend time with each and every employee. I think each and every employee needs to understand what I expect out of them. We're not going to go in and do an in-depth desk audit on every individual, but we're going to explain to them that this is what we're looking for. This is what the taxpayer is looking for. The taxpayer expects us, if we're going to pay, the taxpayer is going to give us 8 hours of pay, they expect 8 hours of work. So we're going to ask every employee to be accountable. Pay attention to what you're doing. Be responsible, be accountable, and deliver a product, deliver a service. I'm going to try to keep it that simple.
You're obviously not in the office right now, but is your perception that it's being run in an efficient manner?
I believe so. Everything that I've seen, working side by side with Tom Cavanaugh, he's a great leader. He has a great team over there. I know he's added to the team since I've left. He has a certified public accountant as a deputy treasurer. You couldn't ask for a better qualification. It's not required of the position, but Tom made it a priority of his to get someone in there that has credentials, and the chief deputy does. My plan is to leave that individual right where they are. I've heard nothing negative about the way the office is run. I think obviously some of the things that are raising concern going forward for the employees, maybe the issue of the consolidation of the township that may have created some discomfort with some of those people, and I want to ease their minds that we have their best interest in mind and at heart, and that they should just continue to serve the customer, and that through attrition there may be ways to move forward with the consolidation without anybody's jobs being in jeopardy. So I've heard nothing negative about the way Tom runs the office or the way his people work.
So I don't want to get too deep in the woods, but you mentioned the tax cycle committee. Who participates in that, and is that advisory? Is it appointed by the county? How does that work?
It's a coalition of members, people. It's nothing official. It's just a representative from a supervisor of assessments. The supervisor of assessments is sort of the umbrella group over the township assessors. If you have a complaint that you can't get resolved at the local level, you file a complaint with a supervisor of assessments, and there's the board that will hear the complaints. That's one entity. There's the information systems department who helps to work with the data that goes into this and print the bills. Then there's the county clerk, who's part of the tax extension, tax rate calculations, the county treasurer, and a few other entities. It's just representatives from all the people that have their hands in this tax bill. There's a lot of moving parts with the tax bill and a lot of participation. It's not anything official. It's just a group of people working together to make sure this gets out on time.
Okay, good, thank you.
You talked about allowing people to pay their taxes anytime, anywhere. I think you said like 11 at night from their home. Sounds like that might need some technological changes in the office. I guess talk to us a little bit about what technology changes you might want to implement there.
Well, I think everybody's living off of their phones and their iPads, and there's less paper, more electronic. The data's all out there, and I think that, from what I understand, they're looking at a new system. It may be coming online sometime soon. We want to make sure that, for example, if there's a way for us to eliminate this paper and the printing of this, and if somebody is willing to give us their emails, why not take it? Why not deliver a tax bill via email? Things of that nature. Be more savvy, because the generations behind me, they spend time with electronic media as opposed to the paper documents that I grew up with. I think, for example, on this tax bill, you can see that there's two stubs. You tear one off, make the first payment, tear the second one off, make the second payment. There might be ways to, and if the second stub gets lost, you might be paying taxes late and paying a fee as a result of it, or if you completely forget about it, it may go to the tax sale. There might be ways for us to, if somebody's willing to give us their email address, send out notifications. Your tax bill is due next week. Could be done with the first one, could be done with the second one. I work in an environment right now where we work with a document called DocuSign. It's less paper, more electronic. So everything's being done more electronically. And these documents right here, these are public. These records are public. You can go to the website right now and see everything that's on this tax bill. It's not like anything needs to be encrypted. It's not like there's Social Security's numbers anywhere. This is all public information. So if we can figure out a way to deliver the product, deliver the message in a more timely manner, we can keep people from being delinquent. Because I think there's, if I remember correctly, between late fees and tax sale items, there may be $1 million worth of late fees. Well, that's the taxpayer. That's the guy that's signing the check for every employee in there. So if we could do a better job of serving them by delivering a product electronically, because that's where things are going.
There will still, though, be people who want to pay in person or who want that piece of paper and do that. Would you expand any ways they could pay as well, or additional hours at the office or anything like that?
I think the suggestion of additional hours came up in the spring because of the new tax laws, and someone has suggested maybe open up on Saturdays. I believe right now the election office may be open on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. It may be an opportunity to mirror those same hours in the treasurer's office, because we know September 1, the second installment's due. And there's probably still people walking in, paying a little bit late. So it's possible that we could mirror those hours during this time of the year. But if you go more toward an electronic payment method, we might be able to eliminate the additional expense that comes with opening the office. I know one of the expenses is court security.
Sure. I
believe they may need 2 people there for that, along with the staff to manage this. Now, I do believe that the treasurer's office may have two places, 2 outposts where people can pay their tax bills. It might be possible to set up more locations, work cooperatively with some of the townships or the outlying banks. And I think one of the banks, I think it might be IMB right now, that accepts payments. And I have to find out if it's at all their locations, but there's ways to do it. We just have to be creative, and I'm willing to do that to make life easier for people. But I got a feeling the e-payments have rocketed significantly over the years, and we will probably encourage more of that and set up some outposts for additional payments.
Okay. What, if any, financial problems do you believe the county is currently facing, and how, as treasurer, would you work to help address them?
I don't know of any financial problems. When I was at the county, we went through 2 10% budget reductions. We were told that the budget's going to be reduced by 10%. Find a way to deliver your product, pay your employees, live within your means. And we did that. And I think because of that, the fact that we did that, and it was tough. We were not happy about that. We felt as elected officials we're autonomous, give us some money, let us run our office. But what it made us do is clean up our own backyard, pay attention to what we do and how we do it. And the fact of the matter is we're better for that. So today, the county doesn't have financial issues that other governmental bodies have. They're not dealing with the financial strains that other governmental bodies are facing. I don't see any fiscal problems down the road. There's some taxes coming around. Voters have to decide whether they want those or not. That'll help those other taxing bodies. It won't affect the county, but there's no issues right now from what I can tell.
The county treasurer does assist the county board and the auditor in formulating annual and long-term budgets and financial plans and projections. So how would you work with the board members and the auditor to craft those budgets that the county continues to operate in a fiscally prudent way?
I would suggest that they all take a good look at their operation, do an audit of your operation, what's necessary, what's needed. Look at how you're spending your money. Where can you cut? I know that when I first got there, I think we were getting 2 USA Today newspapers. We got rid of those little things. We kept the State Journal Register. We did not cut that one because of all the publications in the election office. We needed to keep tabs on that. But little things like that go a long way because what you're doing is you're creating a mindset within the employees. And when the pool of employees think that way, they look for things, and then they bring it to you. Ask the employees to work an 8-hour day. We're going to pay you for 8 hours, work 8 hours, and there might be ways to eliminate a position or two. But we did those little things in our office, and as a result, we reduced our staff from about 34 to about 18. I think the county as a whole needs to look at how can we share employees. We shared employees. There was really 3 different offices under me as the clerk: the assessment office, the vital records office, the election office. And they had seasonal things going on in each of the office. We were able to share staff. So that was one thing we did. When we consolidated the election offices, we saved money through the economy of scale. We printing and other things. Are we doing a good job there? That's probably more under the auditors or the Central Services Department. But I think my experience, I'm not going to be afraid to say anything. I am a taxpayer. If I see something that's not right, I'm going to say something. So I think more than anything, it's just my experience and what we've been able to do over 22 years that will help others. And in the treasurer's office, you do have a little more of an outreach because you are working with other departments. Mm-hmm. And I think that my experience will help the other departments if they'll let me.
The treasurer's office handles a lot of public documents, so how would you ensure that those documents are accessible to taxpayers?
I think the treasurer may be the FOIA officer for the treasurer and the township. My philosophy has always been if somebody wants a document and they can have it, give it to them that day if you can get it. If you have to reproduce something, do it efficiently. If there are documents that need to be redacted or encrypted of some sort, anything that we can do to protect the taxpayers, we will do. Anything that we can do to expose what we do, we'll do in a timely manner. That was my approach. I always felt like if somebody asks for something, give it to them. And the other thing, too, is we put everything we could out online. The tax extension information's out there. Everything's out there. Tax bills are out there. Budget and levies are out there. We love our customers, but if I can keep them out of the office, I will by putting everything online.
Sorry, you've touched on some of the questions we had for you, so I don't want to re-ask you something
right.
you've already answered. Talking about property taxes. We would like just to give you an opportunity. You've in the past publicly shared about some of your struggles with alcohol and substance abuse, and we just wanted to give you the opportunity to share with us and our readers, more importantly, about that past, your recovery, anything you might want them to know about that aspect of your life.
Never feel like you're alone. There's always somebody else out there feeling the same way you do. And if you're struggling with something, talk to somebody. There's always a way out. I have a statement on my phone that comes up every day. The only way to get out of anything is to go right through it. Face the facts. Get honest with yourself. Get honest with your innermost self. Share it with somebody else. Family, friends, spiritual advisors, and work your way through it. And it's because of what I went through. That's who I am today, because of what I went through. I could have limped along and struggled along and done nothing about it. But I took the initiative. I dug deep into me. And quite frankly, most people aren't willing to do that. They don't want to look at themselves. And I did. And I was struggling with some things. And I dealt with it. And I'm in my 13th year of recovery. And I'm proud of that. And today I give that away. I work with the Helping Hands Homeless Shelter. I talk to individuals there. I go to hospitals, talk to individuals there. I go to different recovery centers here in town, talk to people there. Everything I've learned, I learned from somebody else that struggled just like me and who wasn't afraid to ask for help. So I say ask for help, because somebody's out there willing to help you, but you have to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an issue you are passionate about addressing as county treasurer that we have not asked you about?
I love customer service. I'm a customer service geek. I go out of my way to take care of the customer, whether they're happy, sad, or angry with us. I feel like they're the ones that pay me. They're the ones that have expectations out of us. Not always are the expectations accurate, but quite frankly, most people that come to us, whether it was at the clerk's office, the assessor's office, the vital records office, or even where I am now, most people don't understand how to get what they need. It's something as simple as a birth certificate or a mistake on the birth certificate made at the hospital. They don't know how to correct it. So if we're compassionate about our service, we're passionate about our service, we're concerned about the individual on the other side of the customer, or on the other side of the counter, which is the customer, I think in the end, when you provide a good quality product and a good quality service, that makes you feel good when that customer leaves. I love customer service. That's what I do. And I not only do I serve people in the county and at the state, but I serve others in my community. That's why I stay involved in the community. I'm active with various groups here in the community. I have events almost every week with one group or another. I just love customer service. So I think that's the passion I'm going to bring. And the strangest thing I ever saw when I was at the county was when I first got there, I saw Joe Boniface standing out in front of the treasurer's office, shaking hands and taking tax bills. I thought that'd be a good week for a vacation, because people want to they really don't want to give the county their money, but they have to. And Tom Cavanaugh has done the same thing. He stands out in front of the treasurer's office. These guys are passionate about service. They understand the customer. And that's the same thing I want to do. I want to be there to greet the customer and say, thank you. We appreciate what you do.
Okay, great. Anything else? Anyone? Well, we thank you for meeting with us today and invite you to give a brief closing statement as to why you should be the next treasurer for Sangamon County.
I have a history of service. I have a history of results. I have a passion for the customer. I have a passion for the taxpayer. I think that those are the things that I can bring to that office. 22 years of experience in the clerk's office, 4 years at the Division of Vital Records with the state of Illinois, 8 years with Amber and Silco, and 2 years with Heartland Credit Union. I think those services combined make me the most unique and most qualified candidate to serve the taxpayers in that office. I love what I do. I love working with other people. I love delivering a product, and it's about interaction with other people. It's that simple for me. Show respect for the customer, show respect for the taxpayer, show respect for your coworkers, and deliver a product. And that's what I'm about, and I'm proud of what I do.